So this is the continuation of the Toshiba W704 VHS machine with quasi SVHS playback capability. In the first part, we troubleshot and diagnosed a bad connector that supplied power to the upper drum, which is where the preamp and the head amplifier and the record amplifier and everything lives. Kind of a silly design as far as I can see, but this time we're going to continue and do the rest of the mechanism services. Check it out. The last time we saw this machine, it had no picture, and it was due to this plug that was no bloody good. And I said I would get back on it, and I would do a service on this one before sending it out, because all these old machines do require that the mode switch and so forth is cleaned. I've never done one of these ones before, so let's get into it. I think the first thing I need to do is remove the front panel. So releasing those catches and the ones on the bottom. I don't know how far I have to tear this down. I'll do this connector and this one over here. That's a ground wire over here at the front. There, just take that off like that. I think the chassis probably will lift out and leave the circuit board behind. That's what I'm hoping. Okay, this bracket will come off now as well. I think maybe just these three large Phillips screws probably is all that needs to come out, but we'll find out in a minute. There's one here. Oh, these are quite long, these screws. They go right into the base. And this probably got to come out as well. That connector. And probably this one over here as well for the loading motor. Now, will the chassis just lift up? Or is there something else? Another connector at the back there. Undo that one. Will this lift up or something else holding it? I think it should just lift up. There. Oh, okay. That's interesting. I've never seen this design before. Have you guys ever seen this design before? Check this out. It's just the rotor to the magnet, so make sure you keep this chassis away from anything that could have anything magnetic that could stick to the magnet here. So keep it away from iron filings and anything that could stick to that magnet. Here's our three-phase motor for the rotor. And as you can see, there's a connector here that connects the capstan motor, and the mode switch is over there. So there's just that one connector. These are our tape sensors. I'm just kind of staring at this chassis in awe because it doesn't look like anything else I've ever seen. It doesn't look like a funai. It's got metal parts, which is good. One belt. The belt's in good shape. That's the drum motor. This would be for the rotary transformer. And say there's only 5 wires on it. Only 5 leads, so the electronics for both the record amp and the playback amp will be right in here. We can probably see them if I were to take a shot down here at the back of the head drum. We can probably see into the drum. Indeed, you can see the circuit board there, and if I rotate it, there's the capacitors in there. Oh yeah, that's gonna cause trouble. Surface mounted capacitors flying around at 1800 RPM. That's a real good design. There's another one. Oh, there's a whole bunch of them in here. Wonderful. I wonder if this drum can be separated. Those are the heads. It's got enough of them. It's like a double azimuth there. Let's take a look at the heads here if we can. Okay, got a double azimuth head there. You can see the two head coils. And that's a regular head. And that's a regular head. And another double azimuth. So this has got 6 video heads on it. I don't know exactly what they're trying to pull off with this. Does it have, I'm thinking it probably has an SP head, and then an EP head, and maybe 2 special effect heads. Is that how they've maybe done it? And then audio heads, obviously. That's probably how they've done it, is they've got special effect heads. But all those capacitors and that circuitry on this other board, and they got chips on both sides. See, look. You got parts on both sides of that board. There's an IC there. Yeah. That head drum would be expensive, and you'd have to replace it, I think, as an entire assembly. That's going to have the record amp on it, as well as the playback amp and the switching. That's something else. You'd replace it as an entire assembly, I think. I don't think that head drum's going to come off on this one. Anyway, that's not what we're in here for. I just figured I would show it off. I want to clean the mode switch. I probably should pull the board and just look and see if there's any connections, especially on that connector that the head was plugged into. I don't think it was on the bottom of the board where the problem was, but we should probably check the connections for the optical sensors and so forth, just because in the past those have caused a lot of headaches. And since I've got the chassis out now, I might just pop the board. I think it'll just lift out. There's only maybe 1 or 2 screws holding it in place. Pull the back and then lift the board out. They certainly have a minimal number of screws compared to what the older machines used to have. Okay, now the board will lift up. Sort of. Okay. Here's the underside of the board. Just gonna wiggle these around and see if I can see any moving. I think we're probably okay on that one. I don't see any movement. What about these other sensors here? Look okay. The other sensor on this side over here. How's that one look? Hard to tell. I'm looking at this connection right here. It doesn't look to be broken. The rotation sensors, they're up here. Perhaps this one here. Yeah, that one there might need to be done. And then how about the other one over here? Yeah, maybe I will do those. I'll just redo them all. Just for the hell of it while I've got it apart. And that other connector, this is the power connector down, where am I? Right down here. That's that 12-volt connector that the head drum plugged into. I will redo that one while I get the board out. Because even though I did have 12 volts when I measured it and I had continuity, it's still cutting out. It may have been, it may even still be this connector here on the bottom. And when I put the probe on it, it made a connection. I know that looks kind of maybe look a bit suspect. I'm going to redo it. That kind of looks almost like it's cracked. Right there. Although that's the ground side. That's the 12 volt side there. This one's ground. You can see it going to the ground plate. I'll redo those, and I'm going to redo the rotation sensors. And then I'll clean that mode switch, and then we'll put this one back together. I'll do these sensors here. The main tape sensor in the middle. And the other side over here. And of course the rotation sensors. Alright, I'm going to put the board back in. I think I've got all the ones that I was concerned about. Make sure I haven't bridged anything here while I'm at it. Get a good close look with the bright light. Make sure everything's looking good. Yep, everything's looking good. Okay, I can get rid of that. Note the position of the mode switch. The arrows lining up. Yep, it's bad. It's bad. Let me just grab a cotton swab and we'll clean that out and put some contact cleaner in there and throw it together. Yep, it's bad. It's really, really bad. Align the cam switch back. Do the home position. And now I can drop the mechanism back in and plug everything in and make sure everything works. Okay, we'll get the mechanism back into position and it should just drop in, drop on down. Correct position. And it locks in place just like that. And then drop down the 3 screws to hold the chassis in place. Front panel should just snap on. This is kind of an oddball way of doing things. Like that. I guess it sits in like that. That's weird. Plug the edge connectors back in. The connected cables. Flexible PCs, whatever you want to call them. Ribbon cable, whatever you want to call it. Plug in the monitor and see whether this thing will do anything. Got a picture. Let's go to the Super VHS tape. Yeah, and of course I have to mute the sound. It's playing. There's only one annoyance on this machine. I'll show you what that is. Do you see the annoyance? It's just winking at you right now. The on-screen display. How the hell do you turn it off? If you don't have the remote control, you can't turn it off. Which kind of makes a machine like this an undesirable one if you are planning on using it for archiving video to digital, unless you want to have that in your recording. Now I don't know whether the remote, whether when you turn it off it stays off, or whether it pops back up as soon as you unplug it. If it stayed off when you turned it off and you had the remote, it'd be great if this was not on at all, because this machine's got a vacuum fluorescent display. This is actually almost perfect for archiving because you've got a VFD display. You can fast forward your tape to the end and find out how long it is without having to look on the screen. So let's see how fast this thing goes in fast forward and rewind. I missed some stuff there when I thought I was recording and the camera was actually off. But they do brag a 1 minute rewind. Here's some stuff from a Laserdisc demo. I think I've got that Laserdisc too. I'm pretty sure I've got that Laserdisc that used to be running in stores. It's got forward search, reverse search, got good pause. Actually, it's got really good pause. Slow motion. And reverse play. When you press the play button when it's in pause, it moves one frame at a time. Release the pause. If I press the play button a second time, now it goes into double speed playback, and then back to regular speed. Geez, I don't think they'd be doing this today for demos. That would be seen as too sexist. But back in the 80s, that was perfectly acceptable. Perfectly acceptable back in the 80s and 90s. But today, with the woke world, somebody would complain about it, and it would be no manufacturer would ever do a demo tape like that now, because they'd get persecuted online by the special interest groups. I think you know who I'm referring to. Anyway, yeah, this machine's not looking too bad. The only thing that I don't like is the on-screen display that's always on. It'd be nice if there was a way to shut that off and do it from the actual front panel. And I don't see any buttons that will let you do that. So you probably need the remote control to shut that off. Again, they'd never let you away with that today, running in a demo. Now we just have scenery because, well, as you can see, this would have people freaking out if you had this running in your store demo. But back in the 80s and 90s, that's exactly what we did. We had these tapes or these discs just running to show off TVs, and they actually had a laser disc. Well, this is the laser disc. They would just sit there and auto repeat all day to show off laser discs. Anyway, what I do want to see is how fast this thing rewinds. So the tape just got to the end on its own, and it should go into rewind, and we'll see how quick this rewinds. Now this is the 60-minute tape, so it might be not quite as fast. It does have the large hubs, which are good. They don't fool the real sensors like the short tapes with the small hubs do. These ones tend to mess up the rewinding. They tend to go pretty slow. As you can see, this has rewound this tape pretty quick. They say 1 minute rewind, and well, they're pretty close to it. Anyway, this machine's now serviced. It's fixed. It's working. Not much else I can do on this. I just wanted to show how to clean the mode switch on one of these machines, and now this one here is ready to go back together and go back to the guy that owns it. And I hope that he didn't buy this thing specifically for archiving, unless he's got the remote for it, because without the remote, that's going to be a pain in the butt to have the time displaying through all your home videos. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.